I own 16 housing units, and here's why I don't think $170,000 is actually enough for the average American to live and invest on at the way it's currently going, especially in California. So, after $170,000, you're in a pretty high tax bracket, especially if you live in California. First of all, you're probably keeping maybe less than $100,000 if you're investing in your 401k and if you're buying health insurance, things like that. But in addition to that, I kind of want to talk about 7 other things that could be making it really hard for you to invest or even potentially retire in like 2 to 5 years. Which for me, that is an option I want to have sooner than later because I just don't know where I'm going to be. I don't know where my parents are going to be health wise in 2 to 5 years. I've always dreamt of basically having the option to not work for anyone else if I didn't have to. And the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be childcare costs. So childcare costs, I don't have any kids yet myself, but I know a lot of people want kids and I eventually do plan to be a dad. But on average, it could cost around $15,000 to $18,000 just for like childcare. So if you ever need like babysitting services or just for like food, toys, gifts, of course they always say it takes a village to raise a child. So that's gonna help depending on how creative you get. But overall, if you're like most people and you don't have like a village behind you or friends or family who is willing to support you, you're gonna have to eat up those $15,000 to $18,000 annual costs per child sometimes. You want to keep that in mind. And the second thing we're going to talk about is just grocery prices in general. Groceries, if you haven't gone to Bonds or like Ralph's lately, your money is stretched out quite thin, unfortunately. I remember like buying groceries for like what I used to buy, which is like grapes, strawberries, some meat, milk, eggs, some nuts to put in like my granola. And the granola itself, yogurt, I would probably get away with maybe paying like $80. Nowadays, it's pretty much like double that price, it seems like. And every time I see the cashier, they're just like scanning another item, I'm just crying my head like, oh my gosh, please stop. Nowadays, I'm actually doing a lot more work regarding the budgeting side. And yeah, food's just getting so expensive. And especially where I live in California and like San Diego, I feel like grocery prices have doubled, but in addition to that, I feel like restaurant prices have like tripled. Now, like the one affordable place I can maybe at is like In-N-Out. But I remember I used to be able to get like an In-N-Out meal for like $4 or $5. Nowadays, it's like $8 to $9. And then if I want like a strawberry shake, it's even more expensive. And just all my more affordable options are just disappearing. And then the other day, I was like walking through a line at Walmart, and I was like, dang, I really want an M&M, like peanut M&Ms. And I just looked at the price, like $1.50 for a bag of peanut M&Ms. Really? It used to be like 25 to 50 cents. It just kind of discourages me a little bit. But groceries nowadays, like I did quick calculations, it costs an annual, like the family, maybe on average $12,000 to $15,000 every single year. The next thing we'll probably discuss is transportation. Gas prices. I don't need to really tell anyone. Everyone knows that gas prices have gone up. It's wild. Me flying back and working on real estate back in the East Coast and actually living in San Diego, it's actually even more drastic for me. So I'll live here and I'll pay $4.50 to $5 per pump per gallon, and my bill ends up being like $100. But when I go back home towards South Carolina, it's like $2.20. And for me, I still complain about that because I remember when I lived there maybe 5 to 6 years ago, it was like $1.50 for a gallon. And again, it's pretty much just doubled. And for me being a pharmacist back in the day, I used to commute a lot. So I would drive like 40 miles one way to my job because I wasn't the best at planning my commutes. And I just kind of work wherever my job told me to work as a pharmacist. And for me, because I had like all these debts and I had all these aspirations to actually become, financially free, it costs money because I had to save money to invest that money into something versus like, not having any wealth or any assets that I could trade for later on and nothing to lean back on in case I got fired or I decide I was too tired to work 40 hours to earn my $170,000 salary as a pharmacist. So yeah, I just worked whatever I could. But yeah, I did some quick calculations. Gas again could cost $9,000 to $12,000 in this day and age. Especially that holds really true if you're commuting a lot or if you just decide to take vacation a lot. If you're spending like a family of 2 or 3 or 4, and then you're driving a lot and you just want to go see your family, it could cost, I don't know, $1,000 per month, depending on how much you're driving. So although that can't seem like really high, it really doesn't, because I remember I was pumping like $100 every single week because I was commuting just to and from work, And because I didn't leave my house specifically a lot to visit family because I just couldn't afford it at that time. I only spent like $400 per month for gas, and that was just strictly on commuting to work back and forth in San Diego, California. So I could easily see how it could be $9,000 to $12,000, like the research suggests. Next thing we're gonna talk about is just technology and software. I mean, yeah, we all have Netflix subscriptions. We have our Spotify. What is it? Mobile apps, monthly bills, things like that. Solar, electrical. I don't know, but technology and streaming could cost maybe like $3,000 depending on like how crazy you go on like subscriptions and all that. Me, I don't personally go too crazy, but I could see how like the average household could, like if they have like the Apple Premium, the Amazon subscription, I don't know, Netflix, whatever it is, but it could add up maybe like $2,000 to $4,000. So nothing crazy on technology and software wise. Next thing is maybe health insurance. So if you pay for health insurance from your job, it's maybe like, again, it depends on who's on there. Like if you have an average family of four, it could easily be $1,000 per month, especially if you have like life insurance, critical illness insurance, dental insurance, eye insurance. It just adds up. So maybe around $1,000 per month. So some people can easily be paying $12,000 to $8,000 annually. Next thing is housing utility insurance. It's really expensive. So if you have housing insurance in California, you'll probably have trouble finding housing insurance. First of all, electrical bills are up, water bills are up. So if you have this responsibility, you know what I'm talking about. Easily up to $5,000 every single year. The next thing is debt payments. So if you have credit cards, I don't know if you do. I try to generally pay off all my credit cards, but lately I've actually even been using them to buy short-term rental furniture because I've unfortunately or fortunately found a way to make 30% plus returns easily. So even if I have debt that's like 20%, thankfully, like I have the skills to actually set up really strong rentals. I'll sometimes take them if I'm desperate, and then I'll do like a 0% balance transfer, or I'll get 0% interest balance transfers and furnish the furniture that way. But people are easily paying $5,000 to $10,000 on an annual basis just on credit card interest. Hopefully that's not you and you're financially literate and you figured out you can actually get a lot of these things for free if you just learn how credit cards work. After adding up all these things, people can easily be spending around like $55,000 to $80,000 just on these daily living things. And imagine if you want to save up for your future, where you want to put away, I don't know, $20,000 in your 401k, or $20,000 for an individual retirement account, or you want to put $20,000 to buy your very first Airbnb. It's going to take you a whole year to do so. And if that investment ends up not being what you imagined to be, you could end up just losing and having to restart. So it's just taking longer and longer for the average American to basically build up their wealth, protect themselves from inflation, and hopefully not get left behind, especially if you're like a millennial like I am. Like I'm 33 now, but if you're like age 30 to 45, it's just getting harder and harder. And if you don't have a really high paying job, or you don't have a side hustle that scales really well, I feel for you. And I think you should definitely like figure out a way to make more money if your job is not paying you enough money. And I think you should do so through rural Airbnbs, and follow if you want to learn how to do so on this channel.